I acknowledge that you are not my tribal chief. And with those final words, Paul Heyman's fate was officially sealed as the Bloodline took out the Wise Man to close out SmackDown in jaw dropping fashion. Hello, everyone. This is Warhawk Beyond 2040, bringing to you another edition of the Wrestling Discussion Series. And today I wanted to discuss and share my thoughts with all of you about the shocking events that took place on the June 28th, 2024 edition of SmackDown involving the Bloodline and Paul Heyman, and what this means for the returning Roman Reigns. So, ever since Roman Reigns lost the title at WrestleMania 40, and since disappearing from TV, Paul Heyman's been in a very tough spot, to say the very least. Solo Sikoa has taken matters into his own hands and declared himself as the new tribal chief and head of the table. And their first order of business was taking out Jimmy Uso, who hasn't been on WWE TV since post WrestleMania 40 on SmackDown. And we've seen new members come in to make up this brand new bloodline. And Paul Heyman has been pretty much living on edge. He's been walking around in constant fear for his life. And I have to say, I have to give mega props to Paul Heyman. He has been the glue that has held this entire bloodline story arc for well over almost 4 years now. You think about that for a second. We've talked about this loads of times. You know, when you have a storyline that's been going on for this long, that just tells you how much has been invested and how much time they've taken. None of this has been rushed. Everything has felt so natural. And just when you thought things were starting to get a little bit boring, a little bit stale, they completely flip it over on its head and change the rules and change the questions. And a lot of that is due to Paul Heyman. He has just been absolute gold ever since this whole thing started. And Paul Heyman owned it once again, you know, in this segment where all of the Bloodline members acknowledged Solo Sikoa as the Tribal Chief. Paul Heyman looked dirty. He looked unshaved, unslept, out of shape, everything. You know, he looked like he hadn't slept in months. And I have to really give 10 out of 10 to Paul Heyman. And, you know, for a guy like Paul Heyman, he's almost 60 years old and taking bumps the way he has. It's just nothing short of amazing. And it really shows his love for the fans, his commitment to his craft, and just how much he's invested in what he's doing. He really loves the wrestling business, and it showed here once again. And this segment was just incredible. What a way to close out SmackDown in Madison Square Garden, of all places. This was very well done. I had a feeling that this was going to happen. I thought maybe this was going to be saved for Money in the Bank pay per view. I thought maybe they might draw this out just a little bit longer because we all knew that Paul Heyman was eventually going to get taken out. They had been teasing this ever since Solo Sikoa took over the leadership position of the Bloodline. It was just a matter of when. You know, I didn't really expect this to happen so fast, but I think in a way this is a good thing because now that Paul Heyman has been taken out, the question now asked is what's going to happen when Roman Reigns eventually does come back? Well, first of all, Roman Reigns is going to come back to the biggest pop ever. The fans have been chanting, "We want Roman." We will be getting Roman. It's just a matter of when we'll be getting him. He's going to come back as a mega over babyface, and he's going to avenge his wise man Paul Heyman for the attack that the Bloodline delivered. And the interesting thing about the attack that the Bloodline delivered is the way they did it. They did it in a style that we haven't really seen since the days of The Shield. When Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, and Seth Rollins used to deliver these kind of beatdowns on a weekly basis. We saw the Bloodline deliver a triple powerbomb to Paul Heyman through the announce table, something that the Shield used to do all the time to a number of wrestlers like The Undertaker, Daniel Bryan, to name a few. So obviously, this wasn't just an ordinary attack. This was to get under Roman Reigns' skin. And it's going to be really interesting to see how Roman Reigns is going to react to this when he does come back. So now that the Bloodline doesn't have a manager, where do they go from here? I think probably what we are going to see is the Bloodline is just going to run completely out of control, and eventually, somewhere along the way, they are going to get a new manager. The question is, who's it going to be? I have been hearing stories that Umaga's old manager, Armando Estrada, could be the new manager. That I will discuss in a separate video, but the possibilities of Armando being the new manager for the Bloodline, I think that's a very high chance. And I've been seeing fan made pictures that this is going to lead to a massive civil war at Survivor Series 2024 in a big War Games match. I personally would love to see that, although I'm more in favour of a traditional Survivor Series elimination match, but a War Games match would be equally as entertaining. But this was a very well done segment and a great way to close out SmackDown. And what better way to do it than in Madison Square Garden in Paul Heyman's hometown? And the fans just went absolutely nuts when Paul Heyman refused to acknowledge Solo Sikoa as the new tribal chief. But mega props to Paul Heyman for putting his body on the line once again to give the fans an amazing show. This was just a blast to watch, and I really wasn't expecting this. I was really not expecting this at all. I knew it was coming, but I just didn't think it would be this quick. But I loved it. This was 10 out of 10, and a lot of it was down to Paul Heyman. So that's going to me. I am going to wrap this up now. What was your thoughts on the Bloodline taking out Paul Heyman? Were you shocked? Did you see this coming? Do you think maybe this could have been saved for the conclusion of Money in the Bank 2024? Or do you think this was fine? Where does this leave the Bloodline? Will they get a new wise man? Could it be Umaga's old manager, Armando Estrada? Or do you think the Bloodline is going to just completely run out of control on SmackDown? What does this mean for Roman Reigns when he does return? Will he confront Solo Sikoa about his actions and avenge the fall of his wise man, Paul Heyman? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see all of you next time for another edition of the Wrestling Discussion Series. So until then, take care, everybody, and stay safe. And once again, as always, much appreciated. Thanks for listening.